Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to another episode. And if you have been following this channel for a while, then you know that this is the big week. We have officially made it into week 4 of July. We have survived it. In these historical times, that is not something to be taken for granted because every week has basically been drastically full of different events. But this is the big week where the Senate has officially returned back from their extended vacation trip, and they are going to be rolling lots and lots of different ideas, talking all about the second stimulus check / second stimulus package. So in today's episode, revolving around the second stimulus check and second stimulus package, we're going to be talking all about what exactly is going on with the House, the Republicans, everything going around, revolving around unemployment, the stimulus checks, all the different plans that are being proposed. There are still a lot of things we do not know yet, but that's why it also means that in the coming days, lots and lots of news will be coming out. So definitely, if you are brand new here, consider subscribing so I can get up to touch with every single person about what is going on here. We are generally a little bit more about a mixed finance channel, so some stimulus check, stimulus package, some like general finance topics. So definitely just be aware a little bit of that. It's a little bit more variety. But if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. Even happier to always see so many familiar faces. So we're going to be talking all about the different updates, but consider smashing the like button right now because it really does help out the channel. Okay, let's roll the introduction and let's get started. So obviously lots and lots of news and events going on this next couple of weeks, and in fact days, which I'll definitely keep you guys in touch with. But if you guys been following, I did make a timeline video with all the different dates, and this date is definitely one of them. Check the description or the thumbnail at the very end of this video if you guys are managed to watch through for details on all those other useful videos. But basically to this day, we still don't know exactly what is going to be in the second stimulus check / second stimulus package, but we do have a lot of great news. For example, we actually do have somewhat of a clue what is likely going to be in it, what they're likely going to include. But I think the biggest one of all of them is that because the Senate has officially returned back to work, it also means that we have officially gotten the ball rolling once again. So it means that lots and lots of things, and they're making progress happening. We also know that the very likelihood is that they're very likely going to be announcing something by at least August 7th, because that is when the vacation is going to be, when they're going to go back to vacation again. And I know Nancy Pelosi has officially made it where I think they're going to try to force them not to go back to vacation if they don't pass something. But given the fact that eviction and unemployment both ends by the end of this week, or for a very few group of people by the end of this month, July 31st, it also means that the likelihood is that we will actually see something in basically the next couple of days. At the very least, we will almost definitely at least learn about the proposals and what they're currently being discussed, not just now from the Democratic side, because that's basically been what's been going on. You know, most of this delay has actually been because of the Senate. Maybe smash the like button if you haven't done so already, if you can agree, so we can see if we're on the same exact page. But the great news is we are now starting to see a lot of input from both sides. There is still a lot of disagreement, which is one of the cons and, you know, difficult things, but at least they're starting to speak up. Whereas back then, it was kind of like the Senate was just running away, hiding, and the Democrats were doing all of this work, pumping out like all of these different ABC acts, monthly economic crisis, you know, like all those different acts that we really talked about. But at least they're making progress. That is the great news. So the great news now that I want to talk about is regarding around unemployment benefits, the unemployment extension. And the great news is that now we haven't officially confirmed, but the likelihood is that they actually will very likely now extend the unemployment benefits. The more neutral and I guess less good news, depending on how you look at it, is that they probably will not now extend it by $600, but they're aiming to try to extend it from somewhere between $200 to $400. For a lot of us, I think this is really great news in the sense that because we went from a time not that long ago where we had no clue if they were even going to extend it, where there was massive fear that they were basically going to just cut it out completely and just leave. leave. The great news is that now there is a lot of talk now about extending the unemployment. The mini, depends on how you look at it, neutral news is that it probably will not be to the full scale of the $600, but at least it'll hopefully be something. My personal gut is that with the Republicans, I believe is that they're trying to start the negotiation at 200 because they want to lowball it, because they think that if they try to lowball it, whatever number they say, the Democrats probably going to inflate that number. I mean, it's kind of like business. You know, if you want to sell something for a certain price, offer something lower or higher than what you want, and then let them offer the opposite and then try to get the midway point. The other more neutral news is it's very, very likely it's going to be above $200 at the very, very least, but we don't know what it is. But the neutral news is that it's probably going to be reduced from the $600. A lot of people still feel it's not going to be enough, and I can definitely, you know, feel that with you guys, because there's a lot of people, especially for me, like I'm in New York City, we have a very high cost of living. Maybe comment down below if you are on unemployment, whether you think it is enough or it's not enough. But I think the grateful news is there's progress and there's at least something. So we know it's not going to be like a drastic cut cold, kind of very, very fast situation. Now, we do have actually a little bit of a bad news, but most of the bad news is actually a lot more about America as a whole. And it's really that when it comes to the health pandemic and just the state of our country as a whole, we are not getting better. In fact, the reality is that every single day, we are still seeing cases spike higher and higher and higher, and people just in absolute conflict and political debate and all sorts of different fights going on, disagreements about how to deal with this kind of situation. I mean, it's insane that people had to have a debate about masks. And if you've been following my channel, actually way back, I did actually make a video when I was actually in Hong Kong a while ago, where in Hong Kong, we didn't even need to pass a rule about wearing masks, because the second we even knew about the existence of the pandemic, before it even came to Hong Kong, people were already wearing their masks from the day one. We don't need a law about it. But here in America, there's now fights over masks and all that kind of situation. It's a pretty insane thing. But the point really is that because our country is not really getting better in really any of that category and revolving around the pandemic, I think also one of the reasons why the Republicans are starting to take action, as I kind of mentioned in one of my previous videos, which I'll link in the description and thumbnail in the end as well, is that because they're recognizing that because we are not getting better, if they don't help us, it's going to potentially bring this country down as a whole, where every single person is going to be impacted now. And I think that's probably part of the need for why they're taking action now, because they're actually recognizing. Shockingly, Mitch McConnell, who's the guy that, you know, everyone really doesn't like, more or less. I mean, smash the like button if you don't like him, like me, and if you do like him, maybe comment down below, and it's okay too, because I always respect other people's opinion, and I think it's important to know that. But even he recognizes the need now, and I think it really, really does show something. Now, I will say this though, what is the sad news, I think, is that it's kind of sad that for so many of these politicians, in order to recognize that there was such a massive need for the stimulus check / second stimulus packages, so many millions of different Americans had to suffer before any of this action could have been taken place, when so many of this should have been just given and helped out from the very, very start. I mean, people have been making these stimulus videos for months now. My phone just rang. Let me be right back. So the real bad news is that because of all of the different rising cases, I believe California has officially gone back into lockdown, where almost everything is starting to close back up, and which means that also that there's likely going to be many, many states that are likely going to follow. I mean, I can only comment that being for me in New York City, you know, we saw cases spike and we actually closed. So can you imagine what's going to happen in states that don't actually close and also see cases spike? I mean, you can only imagine where this is going to go. So the real bad news is that as a whole, the country is actually not necessarily going upwards. Actually, a lot of places are going, you know, out of business. Even more people are losing their jobs, and that also basically means that if you are actually someone that wants to go back to work, or in this case, because they're now downgrading the unemployment packages, it means that it's going to be even more impactful and hard in the next couple of months. The brighter, more darker but silver lining is that the harder the times get, the more likely they will actually be generous with the second stimulus check / second stimulus package, which they kind of already are. I mean, considering McConnell and most people who have basically been, from the perspective of someone who's basically, I think most of us can agree, is a little bit more on the cheapskate side, they are already a little bit more generous. At least they're willing to give. Of course, they're still cheap, but you know, at least there's still a little bit more. But I think that it's just something to really note about what's going on right now. But the story right now is that Trump really wants to have a payroll tax cut of some kind. There's a lot of vagueness in terms of what people want, in terms of for like the stuff like the hazard pay, and then all of the stuff like the PPP loans, SBAs, basically anything to help small businesses, especially because they are also one of the people that are most impacted, because so many of them were actually forced to close. So for them, it wasn't even a matter of getting a new job. Like they were forced to close down their restaurants and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of vague stuff, so I don't want to comment too much about it, but I hopefully will in a couple of days if there is something. So definitely subscribe and smash the like button if you haven't done so already to get notified about that. But again, just know it's a mixed finance channel. But we do also know there's supposed to be something about like a get back to work bonus to help Americans try to return to work. I do comment, and it's kind of like real quick what I kind of mentioned in some of my past videos. I just feel that my personal opinion is that I think that there's a little bit of a danger to this, because if you try to force people to go back to work, not only is it hard because again, like as I mentioned, they just physically don't have enough jobs, with so many industries like travel, hospitality just starting to close down. But on top of it, it actually could long term be even more dangerous for this country, because if you send people back to work prematurely, which is why even in education, a lot of teachers don't want to go back to work. A lot of parents don't want to send their students, send their kids to school exactly for that reason. And it's because if they don't do this, it could potentially cost every single person even more in the long run than if they decided to just shut down the economy right now, give out the stimulus payments, and then just try to recover first and then go forward from there. But I kind of just wanted to basically share all of this in today's video. More news about that in the coming days. But subscribe if you haven't done so already, smash the like button, and maybe comment down below what you guys currently think is going to be happening, and maybe like how you guys are currently doing in the current situation, how your state is currently doing. Would love to know them. Thank you guys so much, and stay safe, stay well, hoping the best for every single person. I hope to see you guys again next time. Take care, all the best.